Chair calls Jeffrey Morgan.
Thank you, Chair Dutton. My name is Jeffrey Morgan. I am from Dallas, Texas. I'm representing myself. I am against this bill. I have a handout. How do I get this out?
Give it to her.
Okay. And with regard to this handout, there's a QR code. What I've been doing I've been fighting for stronger families, for the protection of families for over 2 decades, both in the United States and overseas. I've worked in missions and ministry among Iraqi refugees. Family is the essential unit of our society. And the reason I'm against this bill, there's multiple reasons I'm actually against this bill. First off, this bill benefits a single class of people, and it would be single women who are engaged in premarital sex. That's who it's actually benefiting. And I don't think that that's really what we want to be doing, is incentivizing that type of behavior. As we know, what we incentivize, we get more of. Second thing, Chairman Dutton, as you mentioned, you asked about the genetics. How do we make sure the father is the real father? I've been in courts and I've witnessed paternity fraud take place in the state of Texas. It's a very real concern. And the person who was involved with that, everybody knew he was not the father, but it was the attorney for the Office of the Attorney General who was trying to make him the father because they withdrew some money from his paycheck years back. This bill creates obligations for the father, but no rights. Basically, the father is looked at as a paycheck, as a source of income, but not as an influence to the child. And I think that if we're talking about building strong families in the state of Texas, we have to be talking about what incentivizes families. I saw nothing in there about the idea perhaps even of suggesting marriage. That is one of the best anti-poverty prevention programs that we have, but it's not even mentioned in there. Perhaps these people should be saying, hey, we will help you if you're going to look at this. And then after that, maybe consider some of these other things. The best interest of the child, Representative Leach mentioned, nobody has ever defined that. That is a very nebulous term. My definition of the best interest of the child is the child should be reared in an intact home with his or her natural mother and father, period. We hope surrounded by a strong extended family. We hope surrounded by a society that supports and values the institution of marriage. To invoke the best interest of the child for everything, I think it's very wrong. The lady in front of me testified about this is a pro-life bill. You cannot be truly pro-life if you're not pro-family. And if you look at the statistics for abortions, I believe the abortion rate or the unplanned pregnancies, you have a 7 times higher factor of that taking place where there is no family intact. So basically at the end here, like I said, I would rather see something that would incentivize marriage, incentivize strong families, not reward promiscuous behavior by either person. And, I also want to say as well that I know we sent Representative Leach's office a FOIA request to find out some information regarding his thought process. He was informing him about that. To the best of my knowledge, that was never responded to. It went to the Office of the Attorney General for his opinion on that. Finally, I want to just point out one final thing here, is that the representative, or the person who represents the Texas Family Law Foundation, the female, often calls fathers who cannot pay terrorists, as you can see by these tweets. I would hate to be seeing a very young child being called a terrorist or a deadbeat because he could not pay. So anyway, I am firmly opposed to this bill. I think that there are much better options than what we have before us right now.
All right, thank you for your testimony, Mr. Morgan. Chair recognizes Chairman Leach.
Do you mind if I just ask a couple questions?
No, go right ahead.
Thank you, Jeff, for your testimony. In response to your question about my intent for this bill, my intent for this bill is very simply to support Texas mothers, period. We have passed laws in this state over the past several years. And of course, as a result of the Dobbs decision, more and more women are going to be carrying their kids to term. That's a good thing. That is a welcome change in the state of Texas. It's something that we've worked very hard for, and I'm grateful for that. But at the end of the day, it's one thing to encourage motherhood with our laws. It's another thing to elevate motherhood with our laws. And hang on, I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure, absolutely.
So what do you say about the situation where a guy gets woman pregnant? Neither of them want to get married. In fact, a situation where woman may be afraid of the man. There may be good reason for her to keep her distance from him after she got him pregnant. You can imagine all the scenarios why. Is your position that she should be responsible for 100% of the costs relating to the delivery of that child that he created?
I'm saying my position differs from yours, where that you
Yes or no? Yes or no? Is she responsible?
I cannot answer that yes or no, as you know, Representative Leach. I am telling you this, that, there are other sources of income, and really when you look at child...
The question is very simple, because I want to understand what your testimony is, because it sounds to me like your position is most definitely yes.
My testimony is...
Let me finish my question. Let me finish my question. Is that your testimony is most definitely yes, that woman should be legally, under the law, 100% responsible for those costs. That she has no recourse whatsoever to seek compensation from, a reimbursement from the man who created that child.
My testimony is this. When this happened with my daughter, who bore the costs? I did. I bore the costs. So you have family already around. What you're trying to do...
You're making my point for me. You absolutely just made my point for me.
No, I did not, because you're putting something in place where there are obligations but no responsibilities. You want a paycheck instead of a parent. And I think that you should be looking at saying, okay, what about shared parenting, even from the get-go? That should be an option. You should not say, hey, I'm going to punish you, and I'm looking at this thing that, we're going to be making financial demands upon you, and I'm sorry.
I'm very grateful. You just made my point for me, Mr. Chairman. I couldn't have said it better than you just did. Thank God that your daughter had a dad who was willing to support her and cover those costs for her. I think about all the Texas women that were not as fortunate as she was and don't have fathers or friends and no resources of their own to cover the costs. And except there's this guy sitting over there that does, and right now under Texas law, she cannot ask him to pay a single cent.
And many of those cases come from already broken families or never formed families, as you know.
Mr. Chairman,
so you're going to be perpetuating a problem, and I'm trying to say, how do we solve the problem?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Thank you for
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your testimony.